Welcome, idiots seeking village. Me, Rich, he, Adam.
Me, Tarzan. Ye, Jane.
I've always thought you were the Jane in this relationship, Adam.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gender fluid.
If the
This late in life, I'm turning gender fluid.
if the loincloth fits, right?
Yep, it's the wrong fit. Swear it. Too funny. So what's on the agenda, buddy? What's the scoop?
I wanted to put together some of those thoughts I had written down. We've talked about so many different things in the past few months, and I kind of sat down and was thinking, how do these all tie together? How do these make sense? Does any of this make sense? Is it all just distractions from one thing to another? And I wanted to pick your brain and talk it out.
Oh, then you chose the wrong Wizard of Oz character.
I know. I chose my partner poorly, but I needed someone who was available, and you were there. So.
I needed a breathing body. That's it.
I needed a pulse and someone dumb enough to buy podcasting equipment with me on Prime Day, and you were there.
That checks out. That totally checks out.
Yeah, this.
I don't think it is insanity or craziness or just confusion. I think it's all real. I think it's just
What's real?
Sad. Like what you had written and talked about. It's just one sad thing after another. That's true.
So for our audience, I wrote a piece on my Substack, and I was trying to take a step back from Venezuela, from Greenland, from the economy, from Epstein, right? All this shit that's been going on in this lovely first 12 months under Trump 2 Boogaloo. We're seeing a really emboldened Trump administration. They're flying high on their own supply. They got Maduro with... technically, there was casualties because there was injuries, and casualties are not just killed. But basically, they got Maduro with almost no repercussions whatsoever. That said, dozens of Venezuelans did die in the process. They've turned to Colombia, Cuba, Mexico, and Greenland, all saying, you're next, right? Is very bold and audacious and aggressive and bullying in their approach. And I wrote down that, look, I haven't seen it in the news in any capacity, but I have to imagine some level of conversations regarding Panama and the Canal Zone and Brazil because of their jailing of Jair Bolsonaro, their former president and Trump buddy. I have to imagine that some conversations have happened around that as well at this point. And really, why not, right? We've got the State of the Union coming up, and I put this out on social media. I said, it's going to be another version of December's primetime rally. He's going to be more of this airing of grievances and bullshit about how affordability is a lie and you can't trust your own lying eyes. As, prices are down, gas is $1.99 a gallon, and all this shit. And because despite AI, despite tariffs, despite geopolitics being what it is, impacting business and whatnot, the simple fact is we are so addicted to zero interest rate policies and cheap credit that as a country, we've forgotten how to operate in a quote unquote high interest rate environment, which if you look at it historically is normal, is actually low by historical standards. I mean, in the golden years of boomers, right, owning the world post-war and being able to just, walk out of high school into a job that could afford them cars and a house and vacations and 10 kids on one income. By the way, interest rates were always 7, 8, 10% or higher in that time frame. So you can't, right, so somehow we forgot to do business as a country. We forgot how to run things. Like, no, we haven't. So yeah, taking a kind of a step back on everything here, just like what's going on, what's happening. Kind of wanted to dig in a little bit on that.
Well, you could keep digging if you're willing to accept the consequences of spiraling me into a deep, deep depression.
Yeah, I mean, look, you just
I'm
talked
willing
about
to
how
sacrifice.
you get cheap medication because of your Costco membership. Boom, done. I have no qualms. I'm off the hook for that, right?
No, I
feel
asked
I
somebody with a Costco membership. I can't even afford a Costco membership. Thankfully, my kid could swallow a pill now.
our Costco membership's going to be the new Netflix accounts where we're sharing, and they're going to be knocking it down.
I think they do already. They have to check you before you come in and stuff.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's just, I really have a hard time sometimes, like this weekend. I just really was mulling over a lot of these things, and it's just so much negativity and bad stuff. So the people who support this, are you just like happy, indifferent? That's what I am trying to grasp. It's like they're defending this, but how do they feel about it? Not the lunatics, the normal everyday people. What do you think of this? What are you feeling towards this? Why do you think this is correct? These courses of actions, threatening neighbors all of a sudden left and right. Is it because you want to be, is it a tough guy? You want to just be a tough? What's the outcome? I'm having a hard time like wrapping my mind around that logically.
Yeah, it's this element of like, look, you have the presidency, you have both houses of Congress, you have the judiciary, you have full unfettered power, you have everything you want. You're getting masked agents kicking down doors, right, patrolling through the streets. You have everything you said you wanted. Why are you so angry? Why are you so happy to watch other people suffer? And not just other people. It was one thing when, as a country, we were happy to watch brown people overseas suffer from bombings and air raids and whatever actions we were taking, right? Like there's an element of distance and otherness that kind of speaks to that. But this whole othering of your fellow citizen and wanting Americans to feel pain and suffering, right? There was that Florida lady during Trump's first term who was like, he's not making the right people hurt, or he's not hurting the right people. And it's like, why is it that you look at this as an opportunity to make people hurt? Is it really that bad that one half black person wore a tan suit and ordered mustard on a sandwich that we have to fucking destroy everything? Is that really what this is about? By the way, he sucked as much as all of the other ones, right? I'm not trying to defend him by any means, but it's
You're
this
referring
mass
to Obama,
psychosis.
to the ones who
I am,
don't know.
I am referring to Obama, but this mass psychosis of, people deserve to die for not immediately obeying orders. It's like, what? You and I need to have a conversation about what you think freedom means. Because if freedom is the right to obey or die, that's not freedom. That is not a free country. That is not a country where you have rights and that you are, as a citizen, more important and more permanent than the government that is in place. That is a very bad perspective. And you're right. Like, where are these people at? Why is this so, there's one thing if you're just like a teenage edgelord, right? And you're like, her, and making memes about that, right? It's the problem is you go into town and it's your average person.
Yeah. I'm
right. It's
wondering
normal everyday people.
if it's that a lot of them have just, excuse me, just given up. And it's like, this is easier because why not? You have, like you said, you have Congress, you have the presidency. Why aren't you doing more for Americans? It's a lot easier than going through the troubles that we are going through. We don't need Venezuela. We don't need Greenland to help Americans. Why can't we do something on healthcare? Why are we still fighting over the ACA agreement? pass it and work on something better. But gosh forbid you should agree on something to do that. That's not allowed. And because of that, all hell breaks loose.
I mean, you're kind of hitting at a key point, right? You're saying work on this, pass the legislation, like get the laws in place, make the changes that we want to see that need to happen to affect us, right, in a positive way. And we see it in the last week's announcement that he's going to be demanding another $500 billion be added to the defense budget in the next congressional cycle, right? In the next budget, right? What do you another $500 billion that is going to be spent on the military, and then you see what is it 2 nights ago or whatever, and you had sent it to me, I believe. I declare a 10% cap on credit card rates, like on interest rate. That's not how this works. Just shouting this stuff from the rooftops doesn't work. Yet someone's out there, it believes that Trump capped the credit card rates and is going to call their company and is going to be like, why call their bank and be like, why haven't you capped my rates? Trump said so. It's like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. It's not just because an old man shakes his fist at the clouds and declares it so.
I'm wondering if a lot of people have bought into or believe that I can't get what I want. I can't have those changes until these people are gone, are gotten rid of. So it's either the brown people or Democrats in general. Like somehow my people can't have enough power to do what needs to be done as long as these people are around.
There's definitely an element of that. There's definitely these people keep screwing it up and we can't fix anything until we get rid of them. Yeah. There's absolutely that element. That's a story that's been pushed consistently by far right-wing media, by Fox News. We're starting to get the same damn thing from CBS News and the other, quote unquote liberal media outlets, right? It's this element of dividing and conquering. Divide the country, keep people angry, keep them not thinking. And it's wild at this point. Like people are, look, you and I are more on top of this stuff than most, but people are just unwilling to unplug themselves from the matrix and kind of take a look around.
And they've chosen to go to further to the extremes, making it easier to dislike or hate those opponents.
Yeah.
Just like
what I was go ahead.
Like with the comments on some of our stuff. It's like with the Minnesota shooting. I get it. She was impeding federal. You want to call that a crime? So fine. Then this person is arrested. Or later down the road arrested, but they're not killed. That's the line there. That's not acceptable. And that people are somehow arguing or fighting that is acceptable, that this leads to that and that's okay because you were doing something wrong is insane. Like nobody's ever done anything wrong in your life. Your family has never been an asshole or a loser and done something shitty, but you think they should have been killed because of it? I just don't see the logic.
Honestly, Adam, that mentality and the approach that happened last week in Minnesota, that is de facto martial law. That is armed government agents executing people, right? Just taking justice into their own hands without any sort of precedent or due process. That is martial law. That is what happens. And it really comes down to the individual agents and how they're feeling in the moment. This guy was recording on his phone. As we pointed out on the clips, he pulled his gun before there was any reason to think that he was going to get run over, right? He was ready to escalate that situation with a firearm. Yeah. It's absolutely, and yeah, for people to be defending it doesn't, even if you believe 100% she was there to cause trouble and she was impeding law enforcement and she was being a nuisance and that she deserved to face consequences for that. Summary execution is not the answer to that. And because all that means is that any one of us could be targeted next. Any single one of us for any reason whatsoever. All you need to do is just have someone be in a bad mood and they can shoot you. And then you get JD Vance going out there going, you have absolute immunity.
Yeah. And does anyone see like the hypocrisy with the January 6th I think her name is Ashley Babbitt?
Ashley Babbitt, yeah. Exactly. And you can play the clips of them talking.
Stormed the Capitol. She is with a whole entire people who are trying to pillage the Capitol. And she shot, and now there's a wrongful death, and her family's trying to get or has gotten $5 million. I don't know if the payout is official or there's more people involved.
There was some back and forth. There was some back and forth about burying her with or providing her military honors. I know it got extended, then retracted, then I think it got extended again. Exactly. And you could see the difference in the conversation.
She was not a domestic terrorist. This woman in the car saying, "I'm not mad at you," trying to block traffic. She's a domestic terrorist.
So, yes.
Come on.
So, I mean, really, it's the pure hypocrisy. And of course, I'm sure you saw the One of Us, All of You.
No, what's that?
On Kristi Noem's podium yesterday during her press conference. I think the exact phrase was "One of Us, All of You." Basically, it's directly cribbing a Nazi regime quote where I believe it was a Czech village where one of the SS or Einsatzgruppe or someone, right, got killed, and they basically killed all the male inhabitants of the town as collective punishment in exchange. Jesus. And it's a policy. It's a statement of collective punishment. And it's basically clearly saying, if you touch one of us, we're going to come after all of you. And I think the simple fact is, look, come on, where are my Gadsden flag flyers? Where are my Second Amendment, diehards? This is the tyrannical government doing whatever it feels like, tramping over citizens' rights.
That they've been talking about for years.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how many times I had seen people posting about their Second Amendment their gun rights and saying, oh, they came for you first, and then they came for this, and then there was nobody left. That's why we got to fight for our guns for this. Well, they are now coming for people.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. That's the Martin Niemöller poem. And it goes, right, first they came for the socialists and they came for the Jews, right? That everyone's heard that to some degree. But they said it in bad faith because they're saying, well, first they came for this. It's like, okay, well, you know what? First they came for the immigrants, so you didn't speak out. Then they came for the white suburban soccer moms, and you didn't speak out. So at what point is it going to get to you and there's going to be no one left to speak for you? Right? Like this, it's either all of us or none of us. And look, I have my criticisms of the way we run everything, but at the very least, the law was consistent in the way it got, right? In the way you went through it. It sucked ass, and people with money and power could manipulate that. But generally speaking, so, we all got equal treatment for the most part. Right. And there's plenty of ways where we fell short of that, but at least it was something to aspire to and work towards. Now it's not even that. Now it's purely political. It's purely, was this person on our side or on their side?
And I cannot imagine somebody honestly saying their life is better now than it was 12 years ago.
But then they just blame Biden. They just blame Obama. They don't look at the current people in power and say, man, you're making this worse. It's just like we saw at the beginning of last year, right? This is, this bad economy. It's Biden's economy. Dude, it's been 6 months. This is you. This isn't, this isn't the last guy.
Yeah. 2025 had, was like multi-year lows in job creation. So who do you want to keep blaming? Sleepy Joe? Is he still working?
There's the people who are like, I'm loving what's happening. I love what's going on. It's like, All right. Well, I sincerely hope your next traffic stop with law enforcement ends exactly the way Renee Goods did. Like, that's all I can say to you at this point, because you deserve it.
Yeah, I don't know who you're going to blame when you don't have a job or your food still costs so much money because you don't understand that inflation. Oh, inflation's going down, but the prices aren't going down.
Oh, it's going to be the
Welcome
fault
to
of
what explain inflation is.
it's going to be the fault of crooked Democrats, Adam. That's what it always is.
No, it's going to be the fault of Fed Powell for not lowering rates.
So yeah, I think the one crazy thing for me right now is how in lockstep seemingly everyone is with this whole pivot of America First and what's going on, right? Because I mean, look, America First was effectively isolationism. It was get us out of international commitments, focus our energy, capital, our political will here at home, right? And now, what are we doing? We're looking at, we took out Venezuela's leader, right? We kidnapped Maduro. We've basically deployed 15,000 troops and entire carrier groups to the Southern Caribbean and are rebuilding bases and supply lines and logistics in the area. We're telling all these other countries, you're next. We're threatening war with Denmark over Greenland. Right, or they were threatening to destroy NATO from within, and we're trying to, see if they call our bluff on it or not. And it's like, we've talked about this, right? We've got this return to like this imperialist, like spheres of influence policy, but what if this is, and now you see the administration going, yeah, America First is strong foreign adventurism. It's like, when did America First stop being isolationism and a focus on the needs of American citizens, and it started being fulfilling the wet dreams of neocons and CIA case managers everywhere?
And corporations.
When did that happen?
I think that's where it's like the hypocrisy of America First, because it's America. Why isn't it Americans first? We don't need these endeavors. They're just to enrich corporations, enrich oil companies, enrich everyone but Americans. Americans need better health care. Americans need affordable housing. Americans need affordable food. You're not giving that to anybody. How is America getting better?
It's funny is you say affordable housing, and I know people who live nearby who roll their eyes when they hear affordable housing because what they imagine is poor brown people moving in as a result. And I'm like, no, we all need affordable housing. Housing is way too expensive relative to the amount of income that the average person makes today. And
I cannot buy the house I live in currently if I didn't buy it like 8-10 years ago. Period.
Yeah, me neither. Absolutely not.
That's affordable housing. That's it.
Yeah. Affordable housing was being able to get in when you got in and being thankful that you were.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
That's it.
Lottery tickets. But I think you nailed it there, right? And I never thought of that. It shouldn't be America first. It should be Americans first, right? The individuals, like us as a people, not this concept of America, which clearly is being manipulated in this situation to justify forward adventurism and war and conflict.
Because who's benefiting? It's wealthy shareholders, military, oil. We discussed the oil endeavor in Venezuela. Now he's like, oh, I'm going to cancel Exxon because I didn't like the way they talked during our conversations. We're going to help them fund that. They're going to get their shareholders wealthier. The dividends are going to go to the wealthy. Where's America going? When are Americans going to see that money? You think you're going to get lower oil? No, they're going to be able to control the supply. They're going to be able to regulate it to keep the price where they want it. That's all. You're not going to see a dime.
I like that you shared that quote. Was that Trump may keep ExxonMobil out of Venezuela because he didn't like the CEO's comments?
Yeah. Well, why not?
It's like,
sure. I wasn't feeling how you felt that day. You had an opinion that wasn't exactly like mine, so no oil for you.
I mean, look, there's plenty to be critical about American foreign policy and domestic policy and politicians, Republican, Democrat alike. But my God, this is a man child. I didn't like his response. I didn't like, the way they talked to me. Like, fuck, fuck Fred Trump Sr. for not hugging his son and telling him he did a good job when he was a kid. Like, fuck him. His grave should be an open air, public, gender neutral toilet because of
Yeah.
the shit we've had to deal with as a result of his inability to fucking hug his kid and tell me he did a good job.
Or his other son who became an alcoholic and died because probably for the same reason. He just became an alcoholic where Trump was like, I'm not going to drink myself to death.
Well, the one moment of clarity this guy's had in his entire life, and it's at our expense. But yeah, I'm looking at this, look, we're an imperialist country. We have been an imperialist country. We've just largely projected through soft power and economic might, right? That's how we've operated in the last, close to, 85 years, 80 years at this point, right? Since the end of the war.
Yeah.
But right now, this is different, right? Venezuela, Greenland, threatening Colombia, Mexico, Cuba, and all these other nations, right? It's not just the usual projection of power, political, cultural, economic might to advance our interests. And to the whole point about Venezuela, right? About ExxonMobil getting kicked out. Look, the estimates on this, and we talked about this in our episode when we kind of did a rehash on what's the latest there. I mean, it's going to take some almost $60 billion and 5 to 10 years at a minimum to get their infrastructure rehabilitated, right? Because it's not just the Maduro regime or the Chavez regime. It's got 50 years of neglect going at this point. And Trump is indicating, the government might chip in to help offset these costs. It's like, excuse you? Like, you're going to privatize the profits to the oil companies and their shareholders. And not only are we deploying 15,000 troops and these carrier groups to support, but we're also rebuilding logistics in the area so we can project force. It's gunboat diplomacy at this point with Delcy Rodriguez and the other members of the remaining Maduro administration basically saying get in line or else. That's not cheap. So we're already spending somewhere between like $2 to $6 billion a year on this deployment when you annualize the cost of the military in the area. It's the only reason they're continuing to play nice with us. And now you're going to say you're going to help offset these private companies' costs. And by the way, 5 to 10 years is optimistic. There are legitimate energy consultancies who estimate that number is going to be closer to $180 billion and probably take a total of 15 years to get this going. And Venezuela's never really produced more than 3.5 million barrels per day ever at any point. So just to get up to that level is going to take the long end of that timeline. Global production is around 106 million barrels per day. So you're talking about like a 3 to 4% increase in the cost of oil. Assuming absolutely nothing else changes, 4% at the gas pump, it's about 10 cents a gallon. So in a decade, after spending billions of dollars and putting lives at risk, both American and otherwise, you might save as much money as you would just by signing up for text messages at the pump. That is insanity. That is insanity.
I'm sure we want other things that I think they have other natural resources, which I'm sure we're going to take. And who knows if we'll ever drill oil there to begin with. I'm sure that will be a lot of it will be just like being able to harness the supply and just determine who gets. I mean, think about it. Now he's using that oil to punish China, Russia, Cuba. So I have a feeling there's some kind of leverage with this involved in that to some extent. But he doesn't give a shit about American money. I mean, look how many National Guard soldiers and how many millions and hundreds of millions we've spent on them already. If crime was so important, that is the definition of why you are supposedly putting National Guards people in these cities. Why don't you just give these cities and say, hey, this is the amount of money we're going to give you. This is the amount of police that you need to hire. This is what has to happen with this. Hire another 100 cops for the next 20 years. Because that'll basically pay for it. That'll pay for all their salaries for years to come, how much they're spending on National Guard. Why not do that?
Because it's not about common sense, intelligent solutions to problems. It's about the projection of it. It's about the projection of force.
Yeah.
And the optionality to leverage federal resources to squash dissent. That's really what's going on there. Yeah, no, we're not, yeah. Look, we captured those oil tankers, right, in the middle of the Atlantic, apparently heading towards Russia and all this. There's a lot more going on there, right? Underneath the surface, you've got Venezuela has been a hotbed of Iranian, Chinese, and Russian basically back channeling, and a lot of Ukrainian drone warfare. The tactics that are being developed on that battlefield are being imported into the hemisphere through Venezuela, through a lot of these relationships, these military relationships that are going on there. A lot of that is really so far manifested itself when you look at cartel vehicles and whatnot. You'll see that they have these anti-drone cages here, and that's not something you would expect in the Americas, because this isn't where drone warfare is happening. But they're starting to import both the tactics, defensive and offensive, around those. For that, look, you've gone in here, you've basically stirred up a hornet's nest of the FARC, the ELN, Tren de Aragua, the Sinaloa cartel, different regime hardliners, and you've basically you've destroyed their kickbacks, right? In the way we walked into Iraq and we de-Baathified their entire government and just put all these people with connections and power, and basically they said, all right, cool. Well, now you've kicked off, you've ended my income stream. I'm going to start a guerrilla campaign against you. And then we suddenly had ISIS. We are risking the exact same thing, because while we only took out Maduro, we have started to cut off access, and we're directly basically fucking with people's pocketbooks, right? We're attacking the money. We're fucking with the money at this point.
Yeah, and if you don't give somebody something to fall back on when you take away their money, they turn to other means, not necessarily the ones you wanted.
We're really playing with fire here, and we're desperately trying to avoid an Iraq 2 situation, but we're not at the moment, right? Just because we're being a lot less aggressive, more surgical in the way that we deal with whom we perceive as the problem. We haven't actually addressed any of the underlying problems, but we are fucking with the money regardless.
Yeah. And for Americans who question anything at all anymore, if this was truly in America or Americans first, and we were worried about these so-called drugs, we would be spending the billions of dollars on trying to not stop the supply, but help with the demand with mental health, with rehab centers, and we would spend that money on that, because then you would stop the demand and then the supply would slowly stop coming into the country and it would have to go somewhere else. But that means we care.
You want to deal with the drug problem in America? Arrest the Sacklers. Do an audacious night mission to capture the Sackler family.
Yeah, this new administration is very big on public displays where they want to bring back public executions. There's a group of people that you could hang, and I think a lot of people would be happy about it, especially since you've seen the reaction for Mangione.
Yeah, it's the same hypocrisy we saw with the former Honduran president, right? Hernandez was his name, if I recall correctly, who was the convicted drug trafficker, and we pardoned him and sent him back to run, because again, it's not about actually stopping drugs or protecting Americans. It's about getting compliant people in power and projecting force.
So I think what it really comes down to now is just this: how do we get, as Americans, other Americans to believe that? That's what I feel like it comes down to.
I don't need them to believe it, Adam. I need them to start to understand. And look, I get most people just want to go about their day, right? They want to wake up, brush their teeth, go to work, come back, take a good shit, have a nice dinner, relax with the TV for a while, go to sleep. Hey, all credit to George Carlin for that little bit. I didn't mean to try to pass that off as my own. That is obviously based on one of his specials and a joke that he made. So, just want to drop in there. Thanks. That's all they want to do for the most part, right? And I said this ages ago. As long as people have beer and football, they're going to be, right? As long as we have bread and circuses, they're going to be happy. They're not going to be questioning the status quo for too hard. They're not going to be thinking about this too much. They're not going to be looking at it too closely. But yeah, I don't need to convince. What'd you say? Believe? Was that your word?
Yeah, believe. Just believe that this is the truth, and that it doesn't take much to see that to be the truth. That you're really working hard to not believe it, in my opinion. Or maybe you're not. Maybe it's just so much easier to believe the alternative.
I think it's easier to believe the alternative and to not think too hard about this stuff.
But I mean, we have so many people in this country who have addiction issues. Do you really think it's the guy in Colombia that the reason why your child has a coke issue, or your other kid might have an alcohol issue? So it's all the alcohol companies. I drink on occasion, but I'm not an alcoholic. I know that shit is fucking straight poison. But I've decided that maybe I'll subtract a few days at the end of my life because of it.
That's the low quality years at the end, Adam. You'll be fine.
But I just don't understand, how is that easier? I guess it's because, like, what are you going to... I guess it always comes down to, what are you going to do about it? And always what you're going to do about it is just so much work to do. It's easier to blame the cartel for your child's problem than what do? Go to your politicians. Be like, we need more mental health in this country. We need this. We need more this. We need that. I'm like, this is going to take forever. That's not going to do anything. Well, I could just blame this guy and it's a lot easier.
I think this kind of is starting to circle back to what we started about in one of our first episodes, right? Is ultimately politics and politicians and just the structures of government in this country are so hopelessly corrupted, working towards the benefit of people who are looking to line their own pockets, who are looking to benefit from the legislation, so the problem is you and I will come out here and say, why aren't we trying to fix problems when the people in power and their elected representatives who they backed into power are not interested in solving problems. They're interested in capitalizing and profiting from the problems. And that's why we're not seeing, if you want to address drugs, there's a lot cheaper, easier, and faster way to do it. You could do it domestically. And yeah, you're right. Let's start at home. Let's focus on this. And one of the stats is that people who are really far down the right-wing rabbit hole are actually significantly more likely to click on a mental health ad that pops up on a website that they're at than people who are not. You get all this sort of information. You see the data behind it and you go, we really could help people. We can nip these problems in the bud. But the problem is there's so much money to be made by prolonging the problem and stringing it along. And it's the same criticism we make of the healthcare and the pharmaceutical companies, right? Is that, you've had for years, they could have cured cancer, but it's cheaper to keep, to keep you sick and keep you stringing along, right? It's like, I think if someone could have cured cancer, a scientist, they would have absolutely done it by this point, right? If they actually had a cure, it would have gotten out there. So I'm not discounting it entirely, but there's capitalism. One of capitalism's core defining moments is create the problem and sell the solution. And this is how we see things are operating at this point within the halls of government. So no, unfortunately, no one's interested in fixing things. And I think that's what we need to get to. How do we get to that? I think you need to abolish the power structures that let people with common interests who are looking to benefit from this financially, that they don't have that anymore. Yeah. That's how you start it. And we see that, it's the audacity of the current administration more so than any other to just be blatantly doing that, to be selling influence, to be just very transactional and quid pro quo about, I'll do this for you and you get me this much. right? You invest so much in my meme coin. You invest in real estate licensing deals and different projects that we want to do. You put money into my investment fund, whatever it might be.
Yeah. I just see that as the solutions are so time consuming. It seems so insurmountable where it's so much easier to blame somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then and accept that it's like it's this guy's fault. He looks like he's guilty of something. I'm just going to blame him. I'm going to make that feel okay instead of like, how am I going to do this? How am I only going to do this? That's why I always admire and impressed about some kid or some mother who loses their child, goes on and like tries to like basically take on the world. And I'm just like, we need more people like that who have the confidence or then the wherewithal who are like, I'm putting it all on the line. I don't give a shit about anything anymore. This needs to change to some degree. And they're willing to go miles just to change an inch. But we need miles changed. There's only so many inches on this planet.
I don't know. It's this heads I win, tails you lose transactional worldview that keeps popping up. I say it's got to go. I say we just got to rip it all out and we got to start fresh.
Well, we're heading in that direction, it looks like, because I'm very, very, there's very little optimism in me that a 2026 election is going to be very normal, like most elections have been in my lifetime. And
I don't. Yeah, no. I mean, let's look ahead, right? Let's shift gears here a little bit. So, like, where are we going from here, right? Are we really going to try to go to war with NATO over Greenland? Are we, we've got this rush of ICE agents into Minneapolis, and they're searching for volunteers, right? They're trying to get people out there, and they're really scrounging, bottom of the barrel to get anyone on the streets there at this point, because there's plenty of agents within that agency who are going like, I don't want anything to do with this and I don't agree with it. But just like any other sort of military, police, or paramilitary group, you kind of get in line with the worst of your, membership, or you end up finding yourself without support when you need it the most.
And
ultimately.
you're not, odds are you're like, well, if I retire or leave, I can't retire yet. I need another job. Where the fuck am I going to get a job? This is all I got. So I got to play along.
Yeah, but I think, at this point, there's definitely an effort. And I really, after seeing that slogan on Kristi Noem's podium yesterday, they are trying to provoke a violent response. They want violence. They want a justification. Like I said, it's de facto martial law right now. They want open martial law. They're fishing for a way to affect elections coming up later this year. And I hate to say it. I mean, what do we got here? We got another 10 months till that happens, till they come up or so. I mean, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time for something to happen.
Oh, yeah. And they're going to have to time it, though, so it's not too close, but not too far away. 'Cause you don't want it to be so far away that it kind of can be settled. You want it to be ongoing. So like, oh, these towns and cities can't really have their elections. Yes, I know it's a coincidence that all those are areas that are having elections.
Oh, yeah. The solidly Democratic areas within the states, those just happen to be where we, impose heavy restrictions and flood the streets of agents. Yeah, exactly. And this is where I'm just most disappointed with, again, the Gadsden crowd, the Second Amendment crowd, this whole anti-government crowd. It's like, you've all been so anti-government my entire life, and I get it. I freaking get it. But like now suddenly the government's out there in force and you're cheerleading the government. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I guess they're realizing that, like, wait, well, maybe this is the government we really always liked, and we just didn't have that option before. We kind of liked that fascism thing where certain people in power have the power. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is it's almost it's starting to become a meme, or it has already become a meme, right? We're a nation of citizens, right? Americans. We pride ourselves. We rebelled. This country was born of rebellion. We overthrew the Brits, right? We got England out of our hair. We said we're going to be our own country. Rah rah, right? We're America, freedom, everything. And now the government is out there. It's killing people for, at best, minor crimes, right? These aren't even felonies. These are misdemeanors in pretty much any jurisdiction. And being told that all you need to do to be safe is just to give silent, obedient consent. And it's like, it's a joke that Americans are so rebellious. Their two favorite groups of people are their bosses and cops, right? But it's really starting to come to a head. And look, you pointed out earlier, right? The commentary and shit that we get on YouTube and not. Look, those are Russian bots, right? Those are troll farm people that from Bangladesh and everything, right? As was exposed very clearly with the X accounts and their location sharing that happened recently, right? It's you have to discount 90% of that, but there's still 10% of it that seems legitimate enough. It is coherent enough that it's like, even if it is a bot, even if it is a bad faith actor who's trolling, it's like you still have to fight the fight. You still have to be out there. You can't let them
somebody who thinks that way,
numbers.
Who's able to know enough to like write what they write and think that way. I don't care what country we're in. You're still thinking in a way that it's like, wow, you know something, but your logic is flawed and you don't care, regardless if you're doing it on purpose. The fact that you're willing to take a job that you're doing this on purpose. That's the rub there.
They're paid to do it. And yeah, that's the fundamental problem. I think about like Sam Altman, right? And the whole venture capital, Silicon Valley crowd. And they keep going on like, hey, if you just keep investing in AI, you just keep investing, just keep giving us money, stop asking questions, just let us do our thing. Eventually we'll make billions. Just don't ask where those billions come from, right? Because you and I got to be paying out of pocket for these services. As long as when we make enough billions, no one will have to work and we'll have universal basic income and the machines will do all this work for us and you can all relax. And it's like, I got news for you. We could all do that today, now. If we just said, we're going to work for the benefit of society. We're going to build homes and housing for people so that they have access to it. We're going to work on cleaning up our infrastructure so that people have safe roads and bridges that are in good condition, good access to clean drinking water and a robust electrical grid. You could do all this shit. And as long as everyone participates, everyone contributes, guess what? It all evens out in the end, right? It's like going out to dinner with friends repeatedly, or people you go with repeatedly. Like, do you cut the check down to the penny for what every individual person spent? or do you just split the check and go, hey, you're going to be an extra $5 today. I'm going to be an extra $5 the next time. And it evens out in the end, right? We could actually skip that whole need to make billions and then everyone can be free moment. We could just say everyone's free. Fuck the billions. The money is actually, it's a construct.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Let's move on.
And the quest for like, you could just sit around and do nothing. Like, so a lot of people want to work. They just want to work doing something they care about and like. And
yes.
Otherwise, what are you going to do all day? That's why people who retire, sometimes they're just getting other jobs because once you do a bunch of stuff, once you retire, there's nothing left to do.
People want and need structure.
They need to use their brains. You got to use your body. Otherwise, your body stops working. Nobody's saying you have to do like intensive work, but you want to do something. You don't want to just sit around all day. Like, how much TV can you watch?
Doesn't matter if the economy's good, the economy's bad, or whatever. There's always work to be done, but weirdly enough, there's never enough jobs that pay enough to do them all. So why don't we nip that in the bud and stop worrying about the whole compensation part? Just as long as you keep contributing and you're out there, you're helping out, you get to keep your house. You're right. You get to keep your home. You get to just make sure you're contributing to society.
Yeah.
We're increasingly getting to this point where we've got so many of these internal contradictions, right? That's really what we're talking about today, is these contradictions between the power and the money and people supporting one thing while clearly saying they want another one. And it is this weird ass world where we're constantly in conflict with ourselves over everything. At what point, what's going to be that trigger point where we say enough is enough and we're going to stop worrying about that and we're just going to focus on, to your point, Americans or humans and not America?
Yeah, it's the desire right now to quote unquote own somebody or put somebody in their place to be better than somebody. It's a pointless endeavor. When you just want to live, just live. Let the other people live. Who cares?
Live and let live. Why not?
Live and let die. Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, golden rule, right? Like, just treat people as you would want to be treated.
Yeah.
Like, how difficult is that?
And yet supposedly millions and millions of people, believe in that stuff. The golden rule. I mean, it's been passed on from religion to religion. Buddha, Jesus, they all said the same thing. Yet it seems to fall on deaf ears. It's like,
there we go, Adam. We've solved it. Organized religion is what we need. Lots of it.
That's why it's organized religion so silly. It's just like, these are the things that they've been teaching you for generations, and when you need it the most, you don't seem to use it. So what good is it?
Right. All the yeah, believe me, I went through Catholic school. I went through all the rites and everything, and there's not a lot of that happening, right? There's not a lot of usage of the concepts that's going on out there. Same as these Second Amendment, Gadsden flag waving. Suddenly you're falling real short when the rubber meets the road, right? Like, here's the opportunity to put your money where your mouth is, and suddenly you're not there. Suddenly you're on the other side.
Yeah, this is not like some rare thing that once you use it once, you can't use it again. It's not that like fancy bottle of whiskey or something you have that you're like, that special occasion I'm going to wait for. I'm not going to touch that until that special occasion comes. And you keep waiting and waiting and it never comes. You can use the golden rule every day. It's amazing. It self-replenishes.
It's really true. Yeah. Put good shit out there, you'll get good shit back. New Constitution, one amendment, golden rule. Yes. There you go.
That's the First Amendment. If you're not doing it, you're doing it wrong.
All right, friend. Any last thoughts?
No, I just hope that some of our visions for the 2026 will not be as dreary and as horrible as we think they're going to be.
I'm not trying to be a pessimist here, right? I'm just trying to be a realist and look at it. I'm trying to piece the puzzle together here, right? And that's kind of why I wanted to do this episode today. And we didn't even touch on Greenland and some of this other shit, right? But we've got to get out there. We've got to try. We're not passengers in all this. I know it seems overwhelming to fight back against this huge machine, but that's exactly what they want us to think, that it's hopeless and that there's no point in saying anything. And, when I updated my Substack this week, I gave credit to a handful of people who have really led me here for various ways, because it's important for us to think about how not only can we impact our world? But this is how change has happened in the past. And this is how our world has gotten to the point where it is today. It wasn't everyone going along and just quietly saying yes to the boss man, right? It was us making our voices heard and trying to clean up the mess and making our own messes in the process. But, you know, getting a little bit better every time.
Yeah. Was it that together we stand, divided we fall?
Sure.
That's it.
There it is.
Stand together, people.
All right, friend. Everyone, be good, be safe. We love y'all.
Be good. Bye. Idiots Seeking Village is a production of Village Idiots Media. For more, find us online at villageidiotsmedia.com or find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and wherever you get podcasts.